Well, folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it means it's time for episode 595 of the Rec Poker Podcast. This is the chats edition, but we also have a forums edition every week just talking strategy. Now, I'm your host, Jim Reid, Bluffsterini in the home games and at Rec Poker Jim on the hellscape that we call Twitter. And I have the best freaking job in the world, hanging out with my friends here on YouTube every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, just talking poker on the Rec Poker Podcast. So I'd encourage you, if you're having a good time listening at home or in the car, come on, join us Monday night every week at 7:30 Eastern on YouTube and join in the fun. Now, we're going to be talking to Kathy Chang in just a moment, our fantastic guest for the day. But first, I have to mention that we are brought to you proudly by the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. They are the official sponsor of Rec Poker. And you can find out more about them at runaces.com. Bad news, I mentioned last week, we are not doing our Rec Poker weekend in August, unfortunately, as we had been looking forward to. They're undergoing some renovations that are going to prevent that from happening. So we'll have to make that up to you later in the year, but we'll look forward to that when it happens. Our sponsors are really important to us because most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization at Rec Poker, and so our sponsors and our premium members mean a lot to us. We've got a new premium member this week, Martin Smith. So Martin, thanks for kicking in. You're $15 a month. That helps us out a great deal here. And I think you're going to really enjoy yourself as a premium member. So thanks for your support. And everyone else, you can sign up for free at any time. All it takes is an email address and a smile. But you can take your game to the next level and get more involved with the Rec Poker crew here by getting your premium membership for only $5 a month when you use the code RecPoker at checkout for your first month. Now, they let me host the show on Mondays, but I'm just one man. It takes a group, a gang, a village, a crew to make all the magic happen here. We call this group of wizards the RECing Crew. And if you want to learn more about me or the rest of the RECing Crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew, or you can just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them tonight, starting with interim producing co-host John Somsky.
Yes, I am the secondary co-host, the worst producing co-host of this podcast. I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN, and I help run our home games.
And I'm Keith Brandt. That's Monkey System Online, just about everywhere. And I run Monkey's Off-Table Tools, which we're having another monthly session later on this week on Thursday. And also just recently, I joined the list of coaches available in Rec Poker.
I'm Kim Kilroy. I'm PetVet or PetVet33 on the social platforms. I'm Fergie56 in the home game. And I run a hand history review group on the second Wednesday of the month. And we look at hands that our members play and we go down some rabbit holes. So that's open to all premium members.
And I'm Rob Washam. You can find me as Rabman50 just about everywhere. And I run the book study on the first and third Wednesdays of each month.
And so that's just a few of our RECing Crew members. As you can tell, we have a lot going on here at Rec Poker, and I hope you join us and get more involved. And another couple of free ways you can get involved are we're starting our World Series of Rec Poker as one of the collaborations we're doing with 100K, that fantastic crew over there. And so on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern, you can play in a Poker Now poker tournament. We've got 6 of them running between now and July 14th with some cool prizes at the end, including 6 months of premium membership at Rec Poker and a 2-hour coaching session from 100K's own Rob Gardner. So check out the details at rec.poker/WSORP. Don't try and say that one twice in a row because you're gonna trip yourself up. And the last thing I'll say is the real World Series of Poker is going on at the moment, and I'm lucky enough to be going down there from June 22nd until July 12th, and I will be having breakfast virtually every morning in the food court in the basement of the Horseshoe before most of the tournament starts. So if you're down in Vegas and getting ready to play something at Paris or the Horseshoe, come look for the guy in the orange shirt or the yellow shirt eating a breakfast sandwich and a coffee. We can hang out and get ready for the tournaments ahead. Now, speaking of hanging out, thanks for sticking with us, gang. The intro went off the rail there a bit, but we are back and we have Kathy Chang in the house. Kathy, we've been friends for a while. You've been involved with RecPoker for a while. You're a frequent guest on our Mixed Games podcast because you're a mixed game enthusiast. You've been crushing it recently, but don't let me put words in your mouth. I want to let you kind of define your own space in the poker world these days. If our audience doesn't know who Kathy Chang is, first of all, thanks for coming on the show. And secondly, how would you kind of define your own role in the poker world?
Hi, Jim. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. Well, I define myself as a recreational player. I've been playing about 15 years now. I started with No Limit Hold'em, and I met some mixed game players and started dabbling in various mixed games, and I fell in love with it. I love all the variety, and I love the challenge of it, and here we are.
Now, did you start as a mixed game player, or did you start in Hold'em and just expand into that area? Tell us a little bit about sort of how you got your love of poker started.
I kind of fell into poker by accident. I was just watching ESPN, and we saw the 2008 WSOP main event final table. And so I really didn't know anything about poker. I don't have anybody in my family or my close circle of friends at the time that played poker. But now, of course, I have many friends and I've met lots of great people. And that's part of why I enjoy live poker tournaments so much, is that you get to meet so many great people.
It's true. We've got some great people in the YouTube chat, so I'm just going to take a second to remind them that if you're watching along live, congratulations. You're obviously used to making excellent decisions. Feel free to ask any questions that you like into the YouTube chat there. And also, I want you to stick around because after the interview at the end of the show, we're going to give away a prize for free. It's a fantastic prize. You're going to be able to learn a lot about poker, either here at RecPoker or with some of our learning partners. And all you have to do is type the words food bank into the YouTube chat at the end of the show, so stick around for that. We're also looking for some names. We're going to play Stake Study Stack with Kathy at the end of the show, so we need some names of famous poker players that we can play with. And finally, we are excited to be available to take donations through the YouTube channel. You can make a super chat and help us out that way. And a portion of all the donations that we get to support the show through the YouTube chat will be shared with a local food bank as well. So if you're in there and having a good time and you want to help us out, that's a great way to do it. All right. So, Kathy, I'm so interested in your story. You've been an enthusiastic poker player for a long time. You've moved from sort of being like a lot of people do to kind of being new to the game, but you've recently really been having some success. Can you tell me, was there a kind of a moment in the last few years where you felt like, oh, damn, like I'm good at this?
Well, I've been, number one, a mom. And so, I was going along just fine, having a great life with my family and my, young daughter, and busy with all of her activities and also supporting my husband in his business. And so I was just playing very recreationally at the beginning. And then I saw that there were more opportunities to play, and I got to play some bigger events, and I've won some tournaments. So that helped me get a bankroll going. And so then in the past few years, I started studying more regarding mixed games. I had some coaching, and of course, I joined RecPoker about 4 years ago, and so that was helpful. I really enjoy the home games that you have, the No Limit as well as the mixed games. I was hoping to do well in the mixed games, and I know that you have a Lifetime Achievement Award. I think I'm like halfway to that. I haven't been playing as much lately online, but I would like to hit that 50 win lifetime achievement goal. So that is something that I would like to work on.
Well, your stuff. You know your stuff. That's it exactly. Yeah.
I just feel like I really enjoy the variety. And so, I started playing Omaha and then, horse and lately. Deuce to seven triple draw has been one of my favorites. And I just feel like the more that I learn, the more that I want to learn. And, I'm having fun studying and I'm having fun playing. And it's just the journey that I continue to go on.
I love it, and you're right. I mean, it's a game that's very rewarding of study, isn't it? And like the time that you put into it, it's it's very rewarding in that way. So I was listening to your interview on Sherry and Brian's Spaces last week. They're a fun group. That's if folks don't know what's going on Twitter, there's like these spaces where they can do interviews and discussions, roundtables, and that kind of thing. And Sherry and Brian do one every Friday. And Kathy was a recent guest. They talked a bit about your success as a cash player, over $350,000 in Hendon Mob earnings, a circuit ring this year, a final table killer from what I've seen in your stats. And then they also talked, you shared a bit about, you just mentioned your husband and your daughter and how involved you are with your family. As you became more of like a serious poker player, I think it for a lot of our listeners and a lot of the folks that get more serious about poker, there's sort of like a conversation you have to have with your family, because some people might think that it's, gambling, or there might be a stigma with it, or that they don't sort of trust it as a sound financial decision. Is that something that is that a step that you had to go through as well?
Well, I'm very thankful that my family has been supportive of me. And of course, I prioritize my family and their activities, but I did have a discussion with them, and I set aside this year, 2024, to pursue poker more, what would be the word, actively. And so I, did travel a little bit, and I won the Grayton ring, the Run Good ring, and as well as the Commerce WSOP circuit ring. And so I've had a fairly good start to this year. I'm here now at Vegas and playing a couple of the World Series bracelet events, and I'll be playing several of the other local casinos as well.
And what made you decide that sort of you were in a position with your game and with the rest of your life to take this step?
Right. I think everything kind of came together this year. And also with the coaches that I've had and the study that I've been doing, I felt like this was a good time for me to pursue this.
John Somsky, you unmuted there. What's on your mind?
Yes, Kathy, I had a question for you. What brought you to mixed games? When you first joined RecPoker, you asked me about the mixed games in particular, and how did you get started liking the mixed games? How did you dip your toe into it? Because it's something you had already done before you got here.
Right. Well, like I said on the Spaces, I owe my love for mixed games. It all started with Robert Turner, because I met him at the Bicycle Casino, and we were playing a no limit tournament together, and he invited me to tag along with him at his Omaha cash games, and I learned pretty quickly, and I fell in love with Omaha, and then I figured that I should learn the stud games because that's what's in horse, and so I wanted to play all of the horse games. So just one by one, I started learning each of the games, and it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah, it's always interesting to sort of think about the evolution of players through the different mixed games. Would you recommend that folks start with one if they want to move from No Limit Hold'em into some of the mixed games? Is there like a first two or three that they should sort of lead into it with?
Well, I started with Omaha because I think that that's probably one of the more popular ones that's readily available in many casinos. And I feel like, it's like more cards, more fun. I mean, it's a flop game, just like No Limit Hold'em. So the basics are similar, but being that you do have 4 cards and it's a split pot game, there are some other things to consider, but I think that's a good one to get started with.
More cards, more fun. I mean, that is hard to argue with. That's a good point. Keith Brandt, jump in.
Kathy, how would you recommend that a Hold'em player, somebody who knows about poker, but mainly Hold'em, but is curious about mixed games, what's some of the first things that you would recommend studying or training to do it?
Well, I think joining RecPoker would be a good place to start, and joining the mixed game practice sessions as well as the mixed game league. I'm all for practicing on PokerStars for free. I did that all during the pandemic, and you just want to see a lot of hands and get those, try to make good decisions without having to put in a lot on your bankroll. There's a lot of books that you can read. There's a lot of resources online. You can talk to people that are in mixed games and see if anybody will show you the ropes. I'm grateful for the people that have shown me the ropes. I had John Cernuto as my coach, and he really helped me step up my game. I'm also grateful to Ryan Laplante. He's recently become my mentor, and he's a fantastic player in all aspects of the game, and he's been very gracious in sharing his time, although he's very busy with his own poker schedule. And so things like that, where the pros have been willing to share their knowledge and expertise with me. I've been very grateful for that.
Well, great get with Ryan Laplante. I mean, that's phenomenal. He's been a friend of the show for a long time.
Yes.
But that's not why I'll say some nice things about him. He's just such a gifted poker player and a great, generous member of the poker community. What's that? How did you set that up? What was that like?
Well, you had Mika on the show not too long ago, and she was talking about mentorship. And I was wanting a mentor. However, given my current situation, it was hard to find a mentor that was the right fit for me. So I was playing at the Wynn a couple months ago, and Ryan happened to be at my table, or I moved to his table. And so I had known about Ryan before, and I have, seen him in all of his educational tidbits that he shares, but I hadn't really met him in person or played with him. However, after that, I think that kind of got the ball rolling. And so I did mention a few names to Mika, and so she came to him and asked him if he would be willing to participate in this, and he graciously accepted that role. And so I've been discussing various things with him, and it's a very busy time, and so we haven't had a lot of time to talk, but he's always willing and able to answer all my questions. And he also runs the Learn Pro Poker, and he has various groups which offer support. And so I really appreciate the community that I've found, and where we can share ideas and where we can get that support that we need.
That's fantastic. That's just wonderful. Great to hear it. Kim Kilroy, you had something to add.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kim.
When you're there's so many mixed games. There's seems to be a new variant coming up all the time. When you're trying to learn a new one, how do you go about sort of becoming proficient enough to be able to play sort of in a dealer's choice type of game?
Well, I'm definitely not there yet, but the goal is to be proficient in all of those dealer's choice games. However, I've started with the ones in the 8-game mix. Those are the ones that I'm working on right now. I mean, obviously, PLO, I have a lot of work to do, and so that will be my next step. But I mean, it's one thing at a time. It's like learning new languages. You just take one and you just kind of work with it, and then you add another one, and it's kind of trial and error sometimes. I mean, I just jumped into some of these games not really fully aware of what it all involved, but practice makes better.
And do you play any cash games like in the mixed games, or do you sort of stick with tournaments?
I'm primarily a tournament player. I did play a little bit in LA, the horse games in cash games. Lately, it's been like the Mixed Game Festival, where Robbie has all his variations of games. And so I've been learning some of those from him. I went on the WPT voyage, and so we played a lot of the various mixed games, cash games on that. And that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's good. Like, I think when you're obviously very proficient at sort of knowing tournaments, sort of understanding how tournaments progress. So that when you bring a new game in, you sort of it probably doesn't take a lot to sort of learn to play the game because you already have sort of the tournament knowledge.
Well, I like tournaments because everybody has the same starting stack and there's a finish line, and that works for me. So that's what I prefer to stick with.
Well, you're certainly good at it, so
thank you.
Keep going.
Rob, you unmuted next.
Hey, Kathy, how you doing?
Hi.
I was watching the Daniel Negreanu WSOP vlog the other day, and he was playing in the 8 Max or the Dealer's Choice 8, whatever it is. And he talked about his strategy about what game he would pick when it was his turn. Because, then you get an orbit of that game. And so you try to pick the game that you're the most proficient at, and or your opponents are the less proficient at. So what is your game? What game are you going to choose when it's your turn in the dealer choice game?
Well, I'm not quite there in the dealer's choice game, but as far as the World Series of Poker goes, I have so far 2 cashes in the Limit 08 and 1 cash in the Stud 8. So I would probably stick with those. And then also No Limit, I have 2 cashes in the Ladies No Limit World Championship. And so that's probably what I would stick with. My ring is in horse, and then my Ryan Good ring is in Deuce of 7 triple draw. So I've added that one as well.
So it sounds like the low split games are preferred by you than the high only or the Cadillac of poker, which they call Hold'em, right?
Right. I do prefer the split pot games, limit split pot games. I mean, in LA, we play Big O as a limit game. Here in Vegas, we play at pot limit. But I do like that you have 5 cards and it's also high-low. And so that is a fun game too.
That's a great takeoff point. We've actually got a question from Kelly in the YouTube chat. Wants to know what are the events that you have been playing so far for the World Series? What do you have circled, and what's this experience been like for you this year?
Well, so far this year, I've been playing, I played the 08 and I played the Deuce of 7 triple draw 1500 events. I have not had any cashes in those. Coming up this week, which I'm really looking forward to, is the $1,500 horse. So I'll be playing that. I believe I have a OE coming up and the PLO mix. So we have a lot of good fun events coming up.
And are you playing any Hold'em events or strictly mixed games for this series?
So the ladies' week is at the end of June, and there will be a no limit event at almost every venue. So I will be playing several of those. I really enjoy the ladies' events. I see a great need for this. This is kind of what propelled me to get started in poker, is that I won the California State Ladies Championship back in 2010. That was hosted by LIPS, which is the Ladies International Poker Series. And so from that, I was able to come to that included a seat to the ladies WSOP. And so that's really what introduced me to the World Series of Poker and all the great people that I've met so far.
That's awesome. It's I mean, so talk just a little bit about, you really feel like when we speak to you, it really sounds like you feel like you found this community within the poker world. Was that something that you expected, or were you surprised by that? And sort of what's that been like?
I'm surprised by all of this, really. I did not expect to be a poker player. I did not expect to be a mixed game player. All of this was kind of new to me, but I wanted to find a place where I fit in, and I wanted to find something that I enjoyed doing. And this is a hobby for me. I enjoy doing this. I've taken the past couple of days off, and I'm doing other things, and I'm okay with it. I don't want to play poker 24/7. It's exhausting sometimes, and so I'm going to rest, and then I'll be ready for my horse on Wednesday.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've spoken before about sort of the importance of having a place for poker in your life, but not the whole life. I think, I think when people are new to the game, they have this sort of like romantic idea of like going pro and this glamorous lifestyle that goes along with it. But you told me before we started recording that your status as a recreational player is actually one of the things that lets you continue to love the game. Can you speak just a little bit about that sort of balance and love that you have for the game?
Right. I feel like what is so great about poker is that poker is always there. It's there 24/7, and it's there around the world. And I have been able to travel some, but not much. I like to fly, a couple hours or less to get to my destination. I've been having a lot of fun playing at Thunder Valley and at Great Ten. I also played in Texas and Arizona, and of course, California and Nevada. So I really haven't ventured too far other than the cruise, which was fantastic. And winning a free cruise is even better.
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of great opportunities, but, I think my goal overall is to be a winner in life. I mean, I just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary. I mean, That is an accomplishment many people don't get to achieve. And winning a horse ring on my anniversary was icing on the cake.
That's beautiful. That's great. Well, I love to hear it. So I'll just remind our YouTube chatters, you've got a few more minutes if you want to get some questions in here for Kathy, and I'd love to see some more names suggestions for a Stake Study Stack, which we'll be playing just in just a few minutes here. So what do you have goals within the poker world now? Because you say you sort of weren't planning this, now you're in it, you've had this success, you've won lots of tournaments, you're playing in the World Series of Poker. You're a multiple WSOP casher. What's on the list? What's still on? What are some of the things that you really want to achieve?
Every year at the end of the year, I review my year, and I put some goals, and some of my goals are very lofty. I mean, everybody wants to win that WSOP bracelet. I put that on my list. I put the Run Good ring on my list. I put that WSOP circuit ring on my list. I've accomplished 2 of those 3 so far. Why not? Put that on my list. I mean, I have 4 more bracelet events to go. It may or may not happen, but I always have a goal, and it's there. What I want to do is share my passion for mixed games and to support other women in poker. We started the Mixed Game League at Pocket Queens. I run that, and we play a different mixed game every month. We have a weekly Poker Stars tournament, and it's all free, and anyone can join if you're a woman in poker. And we just have a good time. This is a nice way to introduce mixed games to the women, and I want to see more women play out there in live tournaments with me.
Now, you've talked about sort of your ascent as a player. What were some of the ways that you studied? What were some of the ways that you improved as a player? How did you help yourself improve as a player, I guess?
Well, I read everything I could, and the various coaching sites, the various poker groups, and of course a lot of practice online and live. It just
Yeah.
it's taken time. I mean, I've been playing mixed games probably for 12 years now, and it just has taken time. I still have a long way to go, but I'm having fun.
I think that's a
Um,
great answer. There's never been more poker resources available to learning players than there are right now. They're not all excellent. There's probably some bad advice out there, but time, discipline, and applying yourself towards it seems to be the key for all this. And so having that passion, that's kind of important because you need to be driven. A lot of the work that makes people good poker players isn't on the felt necessarily. That's where we perform, but that's not where all the work gets in. If folks are new to mixed games, it's not like Hold'em where there's a couple golden rules that you can kind of tell people are less experienced because they're limping and they shouldn't be or something like that. When you sit down in a mixed game, what are some of the ways that other players there can sort of like demonstrate to you that they're a little inexperienced? What are some of those like common mistakes or errors that less experienced players make? I'm sure it depends on the game.
well, I want to say that honestly, for me and for new mixed game players, if you're playing a limit game, it's honestly easier in some ways because the bet sizing is already determined for you. And so you really can't bust on the first hand. You get to play more. And if you make a mistake, it's one or two bets. And so it's not, that critical for you. You can recover from these things. And if it's a split pot game, sometimes you can have an emergency low and you'll still be okay with that. And so I think it's worth trying. I mean, there's really nothing to lose there. It's a smaller field, and I've done very well in the smaller fields. I mean, you can beat 50 people a lot better than 1,000 or 10,000 people, and it's just a nice, welcoming community. I find that most of the mixed game players are friendly. They've all been there. And they're all willing to give you some advice. Sometimes they give you a little too much advice, and sometimes they get a little bit excited when the dealers have a little struggle splitting pots. But for the most part, it's a very welcoming community, and we all have a lot of fun together.
That's fantastic. And I think that's an underrated point about fixed limit games. You cannot make a sizing error. You could only make errors of whether to raise or bet when you should have called or checked. So that's a great point because I think the sizing is. I
mean, honestly, I have made a lot of errors. Some of the chips, they are very similar in color.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you forget, and sometimes the lighting is poor.
Oh yeah.
And I experienced this the other day where the 5,000 chip and the 500 chip were similar, and I threw in the 5,000 chip when I meant to throw in the 500 chip. Generally, I state my intentions. I will say call or raise or fold or whatever it is. And I recommend everyone does that, especially when you're a beginner. But at that time, I didn't. And so I threw in the 5,000 chip. And so it was a raise. And of course, I had to play it off. I didn't want to say, oh, no, I made a mistake. I had to make sure
Right.
that, I just maintain my composure and just go along with it. And I lost a bet that I wouldn't have put in otherwise. But, these are the things that you have to make sure you pay attention and you make sure you know which chips you're pushing forward.
Fantastic advice. Yeah, the live misclick, it happens to the best of, the poker world. It's true. So yeah, pay attention and great point about verbalizing your action too, because that does kind of remove that ambiguity. All right, well, folks, this is your last chance. We're going to play Stake Study Stack with Kathy in just a moment. And then we're going to close the action with our speed round and give away a fantastic prize. John Somsky, I've seen some names getting suggested in the YouTube chat. I guess my last question, Kathy, before we move on is there something that Rec Poker listeners can do to say thanks for coming on the show? Is there a social media handle they can follow, or some kind act they can take in the world? What's the best way for them to reach out to you and say thanks for coming on the show?
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show, and for everyone that's listening, my handle on X is at Chang RD, and that's probably the best place to find me. I will discuss my poker on there. I also wanted to thank Poker Steak and everyone that's been supporting me on that as well. This is my first year selling action, and that's been very helpful. And so I appreciate everyone that's been supporting me on that.
That's awesome. I'll make sure that the link to that Twitter handle is in the show notes so folks can click and follow away. All right. Well, the soundboard tells me that it's the end of the interview portion, and it's time for Stake, Study, Stack. Eric Jin's brainchild. Am I even saying that right? I don't know. Eric Jin came up with this fantastic idea. He doesn't get to join us very often, but we love the segment. John Somsky, take it away, please. Stake, Study, Stack here on the RecPoker Podcast.
Yeah, so this is similar to a game you may have played when you were younger, or your children may have played, or friends. Kiss, Marry, Kill. So you have to choose one of, where I'm going to give you 3 names, and you have to choose one of these poker players that you would like to study with, one of them that you would like to stack because you think they're good enough, they're going to make you some money.
Stake.
Stake, because they're going to, stake. Then stack is the last one, where you just want to take all of their chips. So we're going to choose 3 names that you are familiar with, and you have to decide where to go from there. So we have Miami John Cernuto, Ryan Laplante, and Robbie Strazynski.
Okay, those are all great names. I mean, of course, I've been studying with Miami John, and he's fantastic. So I would pick him for a study, of course. Staking, I would say Ryan Laplante. I mean, I see a lot of great things in his future, and he could definitely make a lot of money for me. And then Robbie, sorry, Robbie, but yes, I want to take all your money in those cash games.
Excellent.
Thank you, John. I love it, Kathy. Great answers. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard question.
One thing about Robbie is you would take all his money and he would smile and shake your hand.
Yes. He always has a great time, and he always has a smile on his face.
Yep.
Well, three great names. Thank you to the YouTube chatters for some excellent names there. And John, very well done. All right. Well, then it is time for closing the action. This is our speed round. And it's also time, if you're in the YouTube chat, to start typing the words food bank into the chat there. And then you will be entered to win a fantastic prize in our raffle at the end of the show. And I just want to point out that the reason that we do this is to raise awareness for the fight against food insecurity. Here at Rec Poker, we try and take the stigma out of the word rec and recreational. And we also try and take the stigma out of using the help of a food bank, visiting a food bank. It's a difficult time in the world right now for a lot of people. Maybe even some folks that might surprise you in your own neighborhood, in your own community, might be struggling to put a little food on the table or to feed a loved one or a family. And a great way to make a big difference in your own corner of the world is just pull out your smartphone right now and Google food banks near me. You'll find an organization that can benefit from a few dollars from your pocket, a few hours out of your week, or a few non-perishable food items from your pantry. So all we ask of you is to just think about donating to a local food bank. And while you're doing that, if you just type the words food bank into the YouTube chat right now, you'll be entered into a raffle for a fantastic prize right after the interview. All right. That was a lot, but here we are, Kathy. It's time to close the action. So we're going to start off with an easy one. Kathy Chang, what's your favorite no-limit hold'em poker hand?
Aces, of course.
And what's your favorite no-limit hold'em poker hand?
Okay, you put me on the spot. I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Okay, that's all right. We'll pass
the wheel. It would be a steel wheel.
Nice. Okay, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with a steel wheel. Great answer. All right. Is poker a gamble or a skill game?
It's a game of skill.
What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
Oh, people that are rude.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Die Hard you can watch any day of the year.
Nice. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
If there's protein in a bun or 2 slices of meat, bread, yes, it's a sandwich.
Okay, we're gonna test this theory a little bit here. What about a calzone? Is a calzone a sandwich?
No.
All right. What's one thing you're afraid of? And don't say calzones, or else I'll feel really guilty.
Oh, I'm gonna pass.
Yeah, pass is allowed. Should vacations be lazy or busy?
Oh, I've had vacations that are lazy and busy. These days, I prefer lazy.
Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
There's a yellow light coming up. Slow down or speed up?
Oh, here in Vegas, you need to slow down because those yellow lights are very quick. And so, yes, I will stop.
All right, how about a taco? Is a taco a sandwich?
No, taco's a taco. Don't mess with it.
What about an open face sandwich? Is an open face sandwich a sandwich?
Okay, I will give that a sandwich. If it's sandwich in the name, it's a sandwich.
Are you pro chop or no chop? And we're not talking about sandwiches now. We're talking about poker tournaments.
It depends. There's a place for chopping. But, really, you should earn the win.
Name one great musical artist. I'm not going to make you say like your favorite, but like one great musical artist whose work you enjoy.
Oh, I love all kinds of music. I would say Mozart.
Ooh, good choice. We have a fan question getting added in here. Is the Earl of Sandwich a sandwich?
The Earl of Sandwich is a person, apparently, or a restaurant.
We got some curveballs coming in from the chat. You never know what's going to come up. All right, last one. Who is your poker nemesis?
I'm going to pass on that.
All right. Last question then. We'll take the timer off now. Take a moment with this one. So you've led such a rich, full life. You've got this great family. You're living the dream of being like a successful recreational poker player. But someone comes up and puts a gun to your head and says, Kathy, you have to go back in your life and do one thing differently. Change one thing about your life. What's the one thing you would go back and do differently?
Well, regarding poker, I would have learned poker a lot earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, good question. I mean, good answer. I think that's true for a lot of people when it comes to not just poker, but whatever their passionate hobby is. Life is short, right, Kathy? Is that what I'm hearing?
I learned poker a lot later, and I've had to catch up quickly. So, if somebody would have taught me poker back in my college days, things would have been a lot different. But I'm glad I learned it, and it's never too late to learn. And I will do my best to continue on this path. And I wish good luck to everybody.
Right on. You were a fantastic guest, Kathy. I knew you would be. Thanks for coming on the official RecPoker podcast. And I hope we get a chance to get together down in Vegas. I'll be down there for the last week of June, first couple of July. If you can take a break from crushing tournaments over there, I'd love to get a cold drink in your hand. Thanks again, Kat. This was a real treat.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, count on it. Hopefully some more of our regulars too. Well, that's Kathy Chang, everyone. You can find her on the Twitter handle that I will put in the show notes there. Thank you again, and I hope to see you soon. We're going to keep rolling on here with some home game results. We're going to give away a fantastic prize to some of the YouTube chatters. And John, while you're getting the home game results together, I'll just tell our audience the way that the YouTube prize works is we partner with a bunch of fantastic learning partners here at RecPoker. We like to sort of be that place where thoughtful, serious recreational players come and join up with training coaches and sites and communities like ours that they get the most out of. So whether it's Jacket Coaching, Learn Pro Poker, Solve for Why, pokercoaching.com, the Poker Forge, red chip poker. We've actually even got a new one coming up that I'm not going to spoil the surprise just yet, but I'm really excited about that too. So if you are already a RecPoker premium member and we draw your name in the raffle, then you get to win a free month at a lot of these different training sites. And if you're not a RecPoker premium member, why are you not a RecPoker premium member? You can get your first month for only $5, right? By using the code RecPoker at checkout. But you don't even have to do that if you win the draw tonight, because we're going to give you a free month of premium membership at RecPoker. So, John, why don't you take us through some home game results, folks? You've got a minute or two to keep typing the words food bank in, and then we'll give away a fantastic prize.
Well, we'll start off with the No Limit Hold'em Championship Series. This is a series that we play on the first Wednesday of every month, and points are tracked for Player of the Year's points race. And on June 5th, Oslo Burger Trond Vidar Stensby got his first No Limit Hold'em Series victory win. Also, Kelly S. 1962-20, Kelly Stork, has taken the lead in the 2020 No Limit Hold'em Series Poker Player of the Year points race.
Way to go, Kelly. Congrats.
Then on June 3rd, Matty Bumpo got his second nightly victory of the year.
Or hers.
Or her. Then on June 4th, Matty Bumpo got his or her third nightly victory for the year.
Okay, he or she is on a roll.
Yes. And then on June 8th, Insinma got his or her first or second international victory for the year. And PetVet33, Kim Kilroy, got her first international victory for the year. And then on June 9th, PetVet33, Kim Kilroy, won the LPP event. So she can contact info@rec.poker for her free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Congratulations to Kim Kilroy. That Kim is, so if you were listening earlier, Kathy mentioned the Lifetime Achievement Award here at Rec Poker, currently only achieved by 2 people in the world. Our own Kim Kilroy, who's currently sitting on 55 or 56 home game wins, which is phenomenal.
Congrats, Kim.
Yeah, congrats, Kim. And of course, the very first person to win the award, Dave Westervelt. So quite elite company, and just like Kathy Chang, we're all just racing behind you to catch up, Kim. So congratulations, way to go. And if you play in our home game club, the games are free, the stakes are play money, but there's some real prizes you can win, including a free month at Learn Pro Poker. So congratulations, and Kim, you can send that email to info@rec.poker and we'll get you all hooked up. All right, I see a lot of folks in the YouTube chat here. We got some new names I'm excited to see. So I'm starting with JB, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5? I see 5. John, is that what you get in there too? Okay,
yep,
fantastic.
I am getting 5 as well.
So I'm going to roll a boring old 6-sided die. And if we roll a 6, I will make a donation of my own to a local food bank here. And if we roll a 1 or a 5, then one of these fantastic folks is going to win. We don't have Chris's Daiso Cam, but let's see who's it going to be. It's number 4. That's Joe Kelly Michaels Stuart Carriage, one of the poker friends forever. You are the proud winner, sir. And Stuart is a repeat winner, not only in the Rec Poker home games, but I think he's won a few months here and there as well. You know the drill, my man. Send that email, please, to info@rec.poker, and we'll get you all set up with your fantastic new prize. So just before we close out the show, I should point out that this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern is the Heads Up series in our home game club. This is how you can win your way into Marek Madness next spring. And again, they're free to join. Please go to rec.poker/home game. You can find all sorts of details there. But we are also doing our World Series of Rec Poker. I mentioned at the top of the show, we've been collaborating with the great crew over at 100K there. And so Rob Gardner and his fantastic posse have been putting the final touches together on this 6 tournament series that's running on Sundays. You can win some fantastic prizes, including some coaching from Rob and some months of premium membership here at Rec Poker. So go to rec.poker/WSORP to find out more about that. And in case I didn't mention it earlier, I think I did, but if you're in Vegas from June 22nd to July 12th and you're hungry in the morning and you want to talk poker with a friendly podcast host, you can find me in the food court in the basement of the Horseshoe there on basically all of those tournament mornings. I'll be playing virtually every day, and I like to start every day with a well-priced breakfast sandwich and a coffee. Yeah, so it's a good place to come hang out and get started. What am I missing, folks? Anything else that we should be mentioning before we roll on out of here? All right. Well, then I want to thank Kathy Chang for being a fantastic guest. I knew she would be some great answers there. What an interesting character, and I hope we get to catch up when I get down to Vegas. Of course, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino couldn't do what we do without their support, so thank you very much. Kim Kilroy, Rob Washam, Keith Brandt, and John Somsky for making all the magic happen over here. Everyone in the YouTube chat, some fantastic folks. Thanks for all your help. Hope you had a great time. And you, the listeners at home, we wouldn't do it without you, and we couldn't. So we'll see you next week on the Rec Poker Podcast. Good night, everybody.